So many riders spend so much time working on and working towards consistent contact. What happens after that though? Like, what happens when you and your horse are able to consistently create and maintain contact in the truest kind of version of contact? Where do you go from there? Well, from there, you begin to create a channel and you begin to funnel that where you want it to go. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna Leeson. I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I work with riders from all over the world, helping them to really and truly understand the different principles when it comes to training their horse so that they can do so alone in their own arena. Okay, so we have been diving this month into contact, and specifically we've been talking all about thoroughbreds inside of Daily Strides Premium, okay? We've been talking about OTTBs and developing the contact and all that, but I want to take it now a step further because really once we get contact tuned in, okay, once you and your horse are at this point where you both understand contact, there is now this next level to the contact. And I think that it's really, really important to understand the next level and also what you can do to begin working there. Now, I want to preface all this with the fact that this is based on the traditional training scale. If you are not sure of what that looks like, I've included a nifty little diagram for you over at stridesforsuccess.com/episode 1134. But if you are not looking at that, it's really basic. It's like one of the easiest ways to actually explain it is that it's a bit like a triangle, and there's like different steps up this triangle to reach the pinnacle of it. If you can imagine, you know, the food pyramid that people kind of show us in school, it's a little bit like that, okay? But anyway, the bottom of it is relaxation, the top of it's collection. Now, different kind of methods will have a couple of the different stages in different order, okay? But essentially, everybody kind of agrees that you kind of relaxation, you've rhythm, you've suppleness, you've contact, you've impulsion, you've straightness, and you've collection. So you can see contact kind of comes right in the middle there. And I think that that's a really interesting place for it to be because I really do believe that the lower sections, so if we say relaxation and that being the foundation of everything, and then the rhythm, the suppleness, and the contact, they all have to really be in place, okay? They have to be understood, and I wouldn't use the term mastered, but they have to be fairly, there has to be a level of ability present for both the horse and the rider in those different kind of principles with regards to training. And I do say the horse and the rider, I think that's important, to then begin to turn the attention to the top tier of the training scale. Now, can you only, for example, work on straightness once you have a good basic foundation of the bottom tier? No, I do think that straightness can be worked on from day one. Will you master it? No, because you do have to have the other pieces in place before you can actually truly say like, okay, myself and my horse are working straight. However, what's really interesting is once you kind of find that lovely harmony within the contact, once you find the agreement that happens in the contact, the agreement between the horse and the rider, then working towards impulsion, straightness, and collection, it does become a lot easier, okay? It becomes a lot more doable and achievable. And again, this is not to say that you have to have everything mastered before you can begin to work on that. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that if you do hope to maintain, for example, straightness for any length of time, yes, the other kind of principles will have to be present there. So all that being said, I think that it's important that we do need to begin to work on the top tier, okay, that's what we'll call it. So the impulsion, the straightness, and the collection, and maybe work on is not the correct word or the correct phrase there. We do need to have our eye on it, okay? We do need to kind of weave it through in very, very basic terms through our current training with our horses, okay? So that They are places that you visited, could be only for like a stride or two, hey, but you visited them. And then later, when you're going to take a more extended vacation there, you can stay a wee bit longer. And the horse is not going to go, oh my goodness, we've never been here before, okay? It's kind of like you're very, very slowly just introducing it. The horse begins to understand it, maybe not in the way that you want him to completely understand it later, but there is this knowingness about it. And I think that that's really important, okay? So, as I said, very often when we get to this place with the agreement with the horse with regards to contact, we can then begin to think about impulsion. And I really do think that one of the best ways when you begin thinking about impulsion is to drop the whole speed kind of notions from your head. Just leave those to one side. That is not impulsion. And rather think of it as being more like a channel, okay? So if you were able to maintain this consistent energy and this consistent contact, okay, you and your horse, how could you then channel that to do more? Okay, and that's where we want to begin thinking about impulsion. I think that that's often the best way to kind of come at it initially, okay? So I think that very often what hinders, and again, I'm going to kind of tie this back to ex-racehorses and OTTBs, as we call them, okay, off the track thoroughbreds. But I think one of the big kind of stumbling blocks when it comes to true impulsion is that so many riders are actually a little bit afraid. They're like, ooh, you know, if I put all that energy in there, I don't know what'll happen. Like they've images of like fireworks and explosions and all this, okay? Champagne bottles popping left, right and center. It doesn't have to be like that at all, okay? I know with thoroughbreds, very often they do have a reputation, okay? And very often this is rightly so, okay? I'm not disagreeing. But they do have a reputation that they might have a little bit more energy than, let's say, another type of a horse, okay? But I do think that when riders downplay forward, okay? And we're going to, like, forward is really like the kind of the basic entry level where we then build to impulsion, okay? It's like impulsion's, I don't know, great grandmother or something, okay? It's like, you know, it is the foundation and then you build on to impulsion. But when you're afraid to ask for forward, you will never actually get to the point where you're going to really and truly have or create impulsion, because forwardness is essential for rhythm and relaxation and suppleness and all those things that come in front of impulsion, okay? So you do need the energy. Now, what I'm going to suggest you do, that if you do notice that you're feeling any resistance, okay, or there's any excessive tension there, very often one of the things you can do is just allow it on a bit and then just to dissipate, okay? So you just allow and then you bring it back. And I find that especially when working with ex-racehorses, that can really help them to be able to maintain relaxation a little bit more. Otherwise, you do lose the kind of desired level of tension that's necessary for whatever you're doing, and then you lose the relaxation. And as you probably know, if the relaxation is lost, the whole thing's gone, okay? So it is important to do that as well. So as an exercise that you can use to start working with this with your horse today, I'm going to suggest starting in the rising trot, okay? So posting to the trot. And what you can do is you can ride down the long side of the arena as though you were going large, okay? So I'm assuming you have a rectangle arena. You're going to ride down the long side. And then instead of actually just staying large, you can ride back the quarter line. Now, I don't want the quarter line beside the long side you've just gone down, so it'll actually be the 3/4 line if we were to get really technical about all this, okay? But yeah, I want you to go past A or C, so past the middle of the short side, and then you're going to ride down that quarter line. And in riding this, what you can do is you can begin to allow your trip down the long side, your initial trip, okay, to help you, kind of like a bit like stabilizers on a bicycle or training wheels, to help you just to get things balanced, okay? But then as you then travel down the quarter line, you're going to test that. And remember, we are working with Impulsion from this place of it being between contact, which is this agreement. It's self-carriage, it's the agreement, it's the energy being recycled, okay? It's you and your horse working together, you're holding hands, you're deciding, yes, we're in agreement with each other, we're going to do this together, okay? You'll do your bit, I'll do my bit, let's go together as a team, okay? So you've got this contact as the one bookend, and then you have straightness as the other bookend. And then when you can kind of bring that energy that you've now begun to recycle and to reuse within the contact, when you can bring that and funnel it to the straightness, well, there you go, bingo, you've hit Impulsion, okay? What you'll often find is that the straightness is the one that goes for the ball, okay? So as you're practicing this on the quarter line, and this is why I suggest doing it on the quarter line, you don't have the safety wheels or the boundary that the outside track, the arena edge gives you, okay? It's just you and your horse now working together on the quarter line. And very quickly you'll see how well established this is for you and your horse. And I want you to keep in mind, again, we'll just bring this back to forwardness. Any horse and rider can maintain things, well, for the most part. That's a very blanket statement, so I won't say that completely. But yeah, it's easier to maintain things when you and your horse are stationary. It's when you begin moving, okay? When you begin to have to kind of manage the relaxation, the rhythm, the suppleness, the contact, the impulsion, the straightness. That is where really you get to see what areas need work, okay? So I'm going to suggest you, first of all, look at yourself, have a look at your hands, notice how you're carrying them. Do you change it when you go from having the safety rail of the arena to when you're on the quarter line? Are you changing yourself? Okay. So many riders forget that the channel comes from your aids. You and later not so much, but initially yes. Okay. This is very important. So you want to make sure that if you're the channel, well, you've got your channel straightened out, hey? So you want to check that, okay? And then also, are you blocking the channel there, maybe with your hands? A lot of riders will try and bring their hands closer together, or they'll even go visit the opposite side with a hand. Their hand will like cross over to the other side in an attempt to straighten the horse out, okay? You want to check on this, because if you were doing that, well, ding, 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 we're not straight, hey? So we do need to have a look at that. And then also, can you maintain the contact, the softness through it, the steadiness? Can you maintain the agreement with your horse's mouth, okay? So when you straighten out your hands, meaning that they are equal and they're soft, can you engage the contact a little more? You should be able to, okay? And then from here, your chest and shoulders, you want to open your upper body, you want to give it room, you want to give your horse room, you want to think about engaging through the core. Remember, self-carriage, not just for the horse, for you as well. Are you engaging through the self-carriage? You may notice that your hips and your seat, they swing a little bit more, okay? Because now you're part of a more active conversation, and you will find that with Impulsion. This energy creates more activity, not speed. We've said this before, we'll say it again. We're not going for speed. We're just going for activity, okay? And then what we want is symmetry. We want to look at symmetry all the way down through this. Now, so many riders, when they're posting, and I do suggest posting, okay? I don't suggest sitting trot initially, because very often it's the lack of suppleness through ourselves that actually blocks it. Remember I said about blocking? You can block with a load of areas of your body. Your seat and your hands are the two main ones. So post and keep your hands nice and straight, okay? Think about straightening yourself out, okay? But yeah, if you are posting, sometimes riders, when they post, they twist, okay? So they twist through their body as they come up or down. Notice this about yourself. If necessary, set up a camera and ride straight towards the camera, ride straight away from the camera. Notice what you're doing, that potentially you're actually influencing the channel, and therefore you're the blockage with regards to where the energy's going. But when you take the time to really and truly straighten yourself out and think of yourself as the channel, okay, or at least as I often think of it like a mold, okay, that later you don't have to be the one and only channel, but initially, yes, you're going to help mold the energy a certain way or strengthen the energy a certain way so that later it's able to really work. Maybe, I don't want to say completely without you because it's a team sport, but that it works more with you instead of you doing the most of the work, okay? But when you think of that and you think of yourself being lovely and straight through it, that's where you're going to help your horse to then begin to develop and to work on these maybe slightly more difficult principles of training in your work together. Okay, so this is all part of Daily Strides Premium. There's a whole week of audio lessons on this exact concept where I'm going to take you step by step through it. I'm in your ear, I'm riding with you, we're doing it together. It's loads of fun. You can get those over at Daily Strides Premium, and you'll find all the details over at stridesforsuccess.com/DSP. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Have a lovely day. Keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.